We'll call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise to salute our nation's flag. And I would also ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence. The borough lost a very, very special man last week. Mr. Bill Sondermeyer, who was a patriarch of our community, served our fire department for excess of 50 years, raised a beautiful family in our borough, including his son, our councilman, Michael. He's going to be dearly missed. We pray for the family. And again, I ask you to just remain silent after the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And may our very special, gentle giant rest in peace. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Dunleavy.
Here.
Councilman Costa.
Here.
D'Amato.
Here.
Della Ripa.
Here.
Hudson. Here. Sondemire.
Here.
Yazdi.
Excuse absence, delayed at work. Also with us, our municipal clerk, Brianna Calabro, and our borough attorney, Fred Semra. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law. Adequate notice of this meeting was advertised in the Herald News on December 23rd, 2018. Copies were provided to all local news media posted here at Borough Hall. There's no presentation, there's no early exec, there are no non-agenda items, so at this time, I need a motion for early public comment reserved for agenda items. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak? Again, this is primarily for agenda items, but that's fine if you have something that's not on the agenda. We'll be more than happy to listen.
Good evening. My name is Carl Rizzo. I'm an attorney from Cole Schatz in Hackensack. I represent VMC Realty Holdings, LLC, the owner of 113 Main Street, Block 5060, Lot 28, the Bloomingdale property, and its companion property, 20 Wood Street in Butler, Block 15, Lots 8 through 10. As this body is aware, you have decided to seek to designate my client's property along with 103 other properties as an area in need of redevelopment. We formally object to such a designation and have provided both the planning board and this body with our formal letter of objection dated June 21, 2019, which I have a copy of here tonight and would like to provide. Make part of the record.
Thank you.
Thanks. How you doing, Carl? Thank you, sir.
I'd like to summarize my client's objections and highlight what is set forth at length in this objection letter. As stated in the letter, we are formally objecting to the redevelopment designation of the VMC property. We want to emphasize that in the first instance, our property is just 0.22 acres fronting on Main Street. Our property is improved with an entry gate with well-maintained brick wall and handsome signage. It is essentially a viaduct to its corporate headquarters and manufacturing facility located just over the bridge leading from its Bloomingdale property over the Pequannock River to its Butler property, which houses its offices, corporate headquarters, and production facilities. Our Bloomingdale property is not improved with any buildings, and therefore all of the statutory criteria which relate to redevelopment areas, including dilapidation, blight, discontinuance of use, abandonment, substandard, unsafe, or obsolete structures or construction, are entirely inapplicable to the situation here. Furthermore, because the VMC property represents a critical viaduct constituting its sole means of ingress and egress to allow for passage to its corporate headquarters and manufacturing facilities, which comprises over 100,000 square feet of improvements located on its Butler property, this is critical and would be adversely impacted by any designation. If you look at Exhibit A to the letter that has been provided, dated July 21, you'll see a survey which highlights the property in question, and you'll see an orange area, which is the bridge, and then there's a yellow highlighted area and a blue highlighted area, which identifies both the Bloomingdale and Butler properties. You can see that the property is circumscribed by essentially the Paquonic River and the freight rail line on the other side. So the only way to access this property is through the Main Street viaduct. VMC, if you're not aware, is a recognized world leader in the design and manufacture of vibration isolation, seismic control, and shock protection products. Their clients include business industry giants such as General Electric, Boeing, General Dynamics, Caterpillar, Emerson, Cummins, and Carrier, to name a few. Our property is not particularly suited to be redeveloped that is essential to a long-standing and vibrant business. VMC's headquarters and manufacturing facilities have been located at its Bloomingdale Butler address for over 30 years, and the facilities have been continuously utilized for the successful operation of its and its predecessor and interest business for over 100 years. VMC workforce includes more than 100 highly compensated professionals, engineers, managers, designers, salespersons, fabricators, including members of the Teamsters Union, and support staff who on a daily basis generally patronize Bloomingdale's local businesses and is a critical engine supporting a vibrant and robust local economy in the borough. VMC's very business and the livelihood of its valued and faithful employees would be placed at risk if its property was to be wrongfully included in the proposed redevelopment area, as its property would be subject to condemnation takings. Such takings would necessitate the closure of the business, as there is no other means of ingress and egress to VMC's offices and manufacturing facilities. In addition, and not to be overlooked, is the fact that any taking would by necessity also constitute an inverse condemnation, giving rise to tremendous damage for the value of the Butler facility as well, since it would be rendered unusable. In other words, your actions would mean the effective taking of the Butler property. The governing body should be well aware that continuing down this precipitous and precarious path that it has chosen to pursue will only lead to inevitable litigation by not only my client, but numerous members of the public who cannot sit by idly and watch the borough attempt to place everyone's property, and in many cases livelihood, at risk. At the same time, this body's actions are exposing the general public, including my client, to the need to incur needless litigation expenses that they not only have and will continue to have to incur directly, but indirectly in helping the borough improperly defend its misguided efforts to impose its will on the many long-time, hard-working residents and business owners who are being improperly burdened by what is clearly an abuse of power and overreach. This is not a redevelopment of a single or several properties. This is not a redevelopment of a block. This is a proposed redevelopment of the borough's entire commercial downtown district, involving not one, not several, but over 100 parcels that include homes and businesses of your residents. This is not a blighted town. This is not a town characterized by overwhelmed by unproductive properties. This is not a town replete with buildings gone dark, vacant, and abandoned. This is not a slum. Do things need to be worked on? Yes. Should certain things be fixed in conjunction with your community and property owners' involvement? Probably yes. But that is no different than any other community in Passaic County. The conditions here are not at a DEFCON 3 level. Any situation at issue can no doubt be better addressed in a manner that is proportional in scope, characterized by frank dialogue and discussions amongst a critical but limited number of properties of owners, stakeholders whose properties perhaps require help, with the parties coming to an agreement for the making of mutual commitments to be made in furtherance of a development plan fashioned by everyone's input and bolstered by everyone's support, and importantly, with much goodwill extended by this body to its residents and business owners. Unfortunately, and instead, the borough has apparently decided it would prefer to take a sledgehammer to a situation that perhaps can be better addressed incrementally and without the threat of condemnation clouding everyone's title and ability to conduct their affairs in a reasonable manner, free from undue government interference. In conclusion, we therefore respectfully request that this body immediately eliminate my client's property from the study area, as incidentally the planning board has already done at its initial meeting last week, and bring a hard stop to what is a wrong way to proceed. It is your choice, and we implore this body to act properly and responsibly in the exercise of such an ominous power. I bring this to your attention because although, as you know, you referred this to the planning board for their recommendation, it is entirely your ultimate decision how to proceed. And notwithstanding what the planning board recommends, and as I indicate, the planning board has already indicated they will recommend that my client's property be excluded, it's still your decision. And we believe that it would be improvident, as for the reasons expressed previously. I thank the governing body for its attention and thoughtful, fair consideration of VMC's objections.
Thank you for your time. Just a quick question. How did the planning board make statement that they would remove VMC's property?
Based upon my presentation, the chairman indicated that was not their intention. They took a straw poll, and they indicated by
Yeah, again, it's,
more than a majority vote that
I hear you loud and clear. It's very early stages. The planning board will have another public hearing. Let me ask you, are you opposing the redevelopment or opposing the condemnation component of the redevelopment?
certainly the condemnation.
Okay. So if you were to remain in the redevelopment area, but the condemnation was removed from such a recommendation, you would be okay with it?
I can't say that particularly tonight. I'd like to see what you have in mind.
Sure.
But certainly, the condemnation, I think, is what everybody's up in arms with. And certainly the sentiment that we heard from some of the planning board members was along those lines as well.
And again, after the second public hearing, they'll make recommendation, and we'll take everyone's, including yours, comments under advisement before any action is taken.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Good evening.
I'm also representing one of the properties, so I figured I'd go right behind
Just your
him.
name and address.
Certainly.
for the record.
Jennifer Canarick from Price Me, Shulman, and D'Arminio on behalf of Wells Fargo. We're property located at 115 Main Street, and we are one of the more than 100 sites included in the Bloomingdale area in the study for Main Street study as well as Van Dam. It was recently reviewed by the planning board, as Mr. Rizzo indicated. I echo the sentiments, generic sentiments raised as to the study, not to his specific property. The referral reportedly was grounded in regulations contained in the local redevelopment and housing law and was the basis for a planning board hearing, as you know, last week on July 17th. That hearing lasted almost 3 hours. It was carried to August 21st to allow for further input by interested parties. At that meeting, we intended to present expert testimony objective to the merits of the study. However, given time limitations for that evening, our participation was limited to a formal objection on the record with a reservation of rights for future direct testimony by our witnesses. We believe the study is flawed in many respects, both procedurally and substantively. Additionally, testimony at the hearing was proffered by a witness for the planning board who had not authored the study, who could not opine on any field notes, discussions with property owners, zoning analyses, zoning entitlements, etc. Tonight, we again reiterate to the redevelopment study our objection with condemnation. We intend to set forth legal planning arguments in further support of our position. The decision to utilize redevelopment must be handled with care and consideration, and it must be grounded on a factual basis. Unfortunately, we believe the area we study for the Main Street and Van Nant studies does no such thing. Thank you for your cooperation before going, and I can enter this. into
Please,
the record.
yeah. And as I said to the first gentleman,
Question.
when the planning board comes back with their recs after their August meeting, we'll listen loud and clear to what they say. and what the public has said,
Thank you for your time.
and what private business has said. Thank you.
If you have one, please.
Thank you.
Thanks, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you.
We'll try it.
Yeah. Good. Can always go back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just going to give you my cards here for.
Sure. Yes. How are you?
How are you?
Very well.
Good, thank you. I'm going to thank you for your time now, because I always forget to say that at the end. Pardon? Oh, sorry. My name's Bob Gorin, 55 Charles Street in Bloomingdale.
Lisa Fleming, 69 Street.
Yep.
I'm just calling, we're here because we received a letter, and this is the only one I have, so I'd like it back. Regarding storm drains on Charles Street.
I think everybody on our block received.
Oh, right, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. It's just a general letter to try to help some issues we're having with drainage, but
We just want to
This
know
is part of it.
what the issues are,
Well-
so if it needs further discussion, we'd like to get on your docket for the environmental meeting.
yeah, this is your copy here. I believe this is going to become, not specific to this cleaning and not dumping issue. I think the whole issue of drainage in Charles and Ann Street is going to become a bigger fish than we were hoping. We had on Ann Street, this is how it all started. On Ann Street, we had a gentleman who owns a built-in pool who was looking to replace his liner, and as he started doing work, he noticed water leaking, somewhere from outside the pool. And after further investigation, there was a pipe. Literally, the wall of the pool was against the pipe. So the pipe cracked, it's causing a leak. Though the pipe is not on any of our storm maps, there's no easements, so the position of the borough is it's that particular pipe on Ann Street is not a borough pipe. But trying to help, we did cameras both ways towards Charles or towards each direction on Ann. And it turned out that, you see the metal plate now on Ann Street? Have you seen that large metal plate? Well, it turns out that this pipe goes behind a few homes, turns down a driveway, and just dies in the middle of Ann Street.
Now, is that why the surveyors were out there?
Yes.
today? Okay.
So we dug a hole to
So we're
see.
getting new sidewalks.
Maybe next year. So we're trying to camera from the other way to see if this pipe, we think the pipe was, when they put the gas main in, who knows how long ago, was compromised. And the water has just been backing up in this pipe for years. So once we dug the pipe, the water that was draining in this pool just all drained out. And now that hole is filled with water. So we're trying to come the other way to see if the pipe is to connect and try to make that repair. So as doing all that research, and with all the rain we've had the past year, I've had more phone calls, particularly in your area, about people's backyards being more wet than normal. And a lot of it's just the volume of rain, but I think a lot of it ties in with this drainage issue we've just discovered. Now, the issue is it's currently not, there's no easement on this particular pipe, although there's easements all along your backyards, right? So as we're out investigating, snaking pipes, looking, DPW guys just suggested there's some dumping going on in the yards that are wetlands and kind of take some of this water ultimately to Oakwood Lake. So property maintenance just sent that generic letter to all the homeowners saying, hey, try to help us out. Please don't dump grass clippings, sticks, and whatnot in that area. Because one, you really shouldn't be dumping in wetlands, and two, it's only going to worsen any wet and flooding conditions. And we pick up all that stuff, so you put a curbside. So that was the reason for that letter. But then I had other residents saying, my backyard, lived here 50 years, never had water. So we think there's an old French drain in all of your yards that's part of an easement. We think that may be compromised just because of age and trees. And so, matter of fact, John and I were out there numerous times. We're meeting there tomorrow at 8:30 with our engineer to just try to put a plan in place for the Ann Street and how it all ties into Charles Street. Ultimately, everything should be draining to Oakwood. And we just think we have some serious drainage issues from antiquated, broken, clogged piping. And any dumping that's done by residents is only going to contribute to a problem. I don't think it's nearly the cause of our problem, but it can only help not to put extra debris there.
Well,
I've been there for 25 years.
Yeah,
And I have one tree in my yard, well, actually two, one large, one small. One was taken out by Sandy, which we removed.
right,
Most of the leaves are coming from the back, behind our fence.
sure,
So the wetland leaves are coming into my yard,
right.
they're going back in the backyard.
Sure.
I haven't done a leaf count, but, you know, it.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
the
naturally, there's nothing
majority,
we can
and if you, as far as bagging them and taking them to the front,
Right,
you know, years ago, we had the leaf sucker, you could bring
Yeah.
them to the front, leaf sucker came, they took them away,
Right.
we got a letter that the leaf sucker was no longer available because it wasn't working, but 6 months later, I was taking a walk and the leaf sucker was up at the park and they were sucking up the leaves. So,
well, let me
You know-
clarify that. First of all, it was before anyone on this governing body's
I know,
time, number
and-
one.
and I'm not-
Number
I'm
two,
not talking about this
we still own the
administration.
leaf sucker. The reason they stopped sucking leaves in 2007-ish was because the DEP came out with stormwater regulations. And there's no way the borough would be able to comply with getting leaves off curbside in a timely manner to accommodate the DEP regulation. So it was like, no more curbside pickup, bag them, we'll pick them up.
the previous administration told us a
That-
lie and said that it was no longer available.
I'm telling you,
So I'm not
real reason.
blaming you, I'm just saying that that's what we were told
Yeah.
in a letter.
yeah, we would need 2 more machines and 3 more men, and that's not gonna happen.
I get it, but, you know, unfortunately, the amount of leaves that we get
Oh, yeah.
from the wetlands
Understand.
in our yards,
Yep.
that, you know, we keep it clean back there. It's
Yep.
not like,
Right.
you know, we're not throwing, you know, white metal and tires and,
Right.
and washing
Like I said, the
machines.
letter wasn't specific for you, so you may have the perfect scenario, but I'm sure there's neighbors who aren't as conscientious about the situation as you are. Because I've seen photos of full-blown dumped grass clippings in these areas.
I mulch my grass, so, you know,
I'm not
I
saying
can only talk for me.
you.
But,
Right.
I'm, you know, as far as, I'm more concerned about the fall and the leaves, and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we've been bringing the leaves to the back, you know, beyond the fence. I think I own 20 feet beyond the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look at the survey for it. That easement in the back is at least 75 feet from the fence. You know, as far as my neighbors are concerned, you know, I know that after Sandy, there was a motivated cleanup back there by the residents, and, you know, it was not by the town of Bloomingdale.
Right.
It was by the residents of
Right.
Charles Street. So, you know, we do take care of it back there, and, you know, as far as if we can get on the docket for the environmental meeting so that we can have a chance to regroup, talk about it.
Sure.
See what everybody thinks on the block, because, you know, it's, you know, if everybody got the letter, I'm sure other people are concerned about it
Yeah,
and don't
good.
know exactly what the reason.
I think it's a wonderful idea. Actually, Councilman Costa is our liaison to the Environmental Commission.
Hi, Anthony.
So, do you know off the top of your head when your next meeting is?
This, August 7th.
August 7th?
Yeah.
So, and Jen Allfield is on that
Wednesday,
commission, so
yes.
you're more than welcome to attend and have a conversation. But the efforts done by the residents is wonderful. I believe it's time the borough makes an effort back there and cleans the
We
easement, deals with the
contacted
drainage.
borough after Hurricane Sandy back in 2012, and they came once. We had like 8 trees that fell
Mm-hmm. Right.
in the back.
Right.
And my husband and Matt Saccone and another friend really did a major cleanup. I mean, if it weren't for them, there would be branches making dams in
You
the
would have-
creek,
you would
in the
have
creek back
flooding
there.
back
You would
there
have had
if-
flooding.
Yeah, I mean, at Sandy, we were all over town.
Yeah.
Spent about $500,000 in cleanup
Yeah,
on trees.
absolutely.
So, but I assure you, this just started on Ann Street, as I said, and the whole thing just kind of, it's still opening. The can of worms is still opening. And I believe we're going to find some issues. And I believe the biggest issue is not the leaves, is not the, I mean, someone should not be dumping clumps of grass clippings in the area. That's kind of what we're telling you. I believe if we do a hearty cleanup, find some funds, and it's not going to be till next year, I assure you that, to really deal with the drainage. I believe there's pipe issues, that whole area, something we're going to have to make the investment in next year. But I hear loud and clear, no one's coming writing tickets, just, you know, but as good as you guys may be doing it, there are some neighbors who aren't. So, and those are the ones we're going to focus
Perhaps
on.
we can find out who it is and, you know, invite them to the meeting on the 7th and
Okay.
take them to task. But, as, you know, as far as the 7th, Mr. Costa, we'd like to get on your, just put Charles Street, you know.
We'll get you on.
residents.
On the agenda,
And,
absolutely.
And we'll, you know, this way we have a chance to let them know what's going on, because, you know, everybody got this and it was like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Right.
Well, we didn't want, like, that's how they decided to handle it, and I was fine with it. It was, you know, there was no one got an individual, dear Mr. Jones, you have 30 days to clean this out, you're gonna get summons. This is a
and we
generic,
appreciate that.
you know,
That's
kinda.
appreciated, but we just want to
cautious.
know the reason why,
Yes.
so that we can go back and communicate it to the rest of the block. You know, this way, anybody who has, you know, white metals or tires or whatever back there, if they do, they can clean
Right.
that out.
Right.
They'll know that, you know, this is coming down the pike, and, you know, we can then have a discussion on.
Absolutely, I agree, and like I said, it was all triggered by DPW staff being back there, our camera company just snaking lines and whatnot, where they noticed some dumping, and that's what initiated the letter. So it's something we're gonna have to get back, do a hardy cleanup, but the bigger money's gonna come from dealing with the actual infrastructure, the storm water system itself. And fortunately, there's easements back there, so we can. There's a lot that I think are contributing problems that I don't have easements on, so yeah, it's a quandary for me to use taxpayers' money to fix something that I can't declare as borough property. So that's what I'm dealing with on Ann Street.
Okay.
So it's going to be a big picture. So, but we'll stay in touch.
Thanks.
And, let me ask you questions. Do you notice? I guess this is a silly question because of all the rain we've had, but like more water than normal.
We've had excessive rain, and I don't know about Lisa, but I mean, I know that we've noticed it, but we've said, oh well, it's raining for 5 days straight.
Right.
You know, perhaps that's it. And the best part about that scenario is the fact that it's draining.
Okay, right. So,
Okay, so it's not like
that was
it's
my next
staying
question.
around. By the next day after the rain stops, it's all gone.
But how much of do you have lawn backyard that's not usable because it's just too soggy and
Yeah,
doesn't?
my yard's been fine.
Yours fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's.
But I
it's-
know other neighbors.
Yeah, we have some on Charles who's
some
been
other
there
people
50
have that
years.
problem, yeah.
Their lawn areas are saturated, and it's not quite draining well
Yeah.
enough. So
No,
hopefully-
we're seeing it drain. It's not like it's
Yeah.
hanging around.
What side of Charles are you on? What side?
We're on the easement side, like that runs. There's nothing behind us, and then.
That runs to the lake.
Pardon?
Your backyard runs to the lake?
all the wetlands
All
in the
the-
back.
all-
Yeah,
Okay, so you're on that side.
yeah. Good.
Same side as Matt?
Yeah.
Right next.
Okay,
She's next door. I'm three doors in.
okay. Just trying to get an
Yeah.
idea.
We'll go look tomorrow. Okay.
We were ground zero for the floodplain, so.
Yes. Yeah, good stuff there.
So thank you very much.
Yes, we'll stay in touch.
again,
Yep.
And we'll see you on.
See you the 7th.
Saturday.
Good.
All right.
Thank you
Look
so
forward.
much.
Thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak to an agenda item or non-agenda at this point? We're easy.
Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam.
How are you?
I was also at the meeting on Wednesday night, and it was not pretty. My big concern is that, having had experience with the planning board and the council saying that they're going to listen to everybody's opinions, when it's already been decided, it doesn't happen. They don't listen to the opinions. And I'm just wanting to emphasize that I really think you really have to figure out what you're going to do with this town. We had the visioning plan. It was rehabilitation, not condemnation. And to condemn 100 properties, it's absolutely insane.
Okay.
And
No.
what are your plans if you do condemn it all?
No one's condemning 100 properties.
Well, that's not what the planners
All I
say.
hear, for as long as I've lived in Bloomingdale, is that downtown needs improvement. This is the first step by declaring Main Street an area in need of redevelopment. The condemnation component, which again, in its final adoption, may be removed based on the input the planning board's getting. But the reason it's in there is as a tool, not to go and condemn anything. If, let's say we have a developer interested in doing 3 properties, and you have 3 willing sellers, the borough has no intention of condemning them, forcing them out. It's a tool to say, okay, the market value on your property is $280,000, and because there's condemnation, we just have to pay you that, plus I think it's 30% above on condemnation. That they don't hold out and say, I know you want it, it's worth $1 billion. So that's the reasoning behind putting that in there as a tool to utilize, not to condemn. What good would that do us, condemning properties without the known source of a redevelopment? But we're hearing loud and clear that, it's concerning many. So we'll see if the planning board makes the recommendation to remove condemnation. I'm sure this governing body is going to follow suit, and I believe that's where it's going to go. Is keep the redevelopment plan to still entice development, because you can do tax incentives to try to entice development, but remove the condemnation. I really believe that's going to be the final product.
Okay. I also wanted to find out about the increase in our water and sewer. We've been being told in every one of your little letters from the mayor that water and sewer is going to be going down. Now it went up 10%.
No, you never say, my little letters have always said, we'll see a 20% wholesale water reduction when we convert to Butler. Okay, we have not yet converted to Butler
And why is that?
because of the DEP. And you could check with Mr. Lampman on that process. The DEP hasn't issued final permits on that. Originally it was going to go through Sloan Park, but because of, ironically, contamination on VMC's property, we could not utilize the water line, so we're now putting a pump station on the corner of Main and Hamburg by Elizabeth Street. That'll be the new water connection for Butler. And the last we had to do was a drought management plan for the DEP, which was submitted about a month ago. And the DEP is just, it's in their hands. Once they issue it, we'll convert the water. Now, there was a 10% increase in sewer and water rates. And the reason is we're making investment in fixing 100-year-old infrastructure, incurring debt doing so, paying down debt. But, and this is going to not tickle your fancy, I was hoping we'd have development on Federal Hill by now, but litigation delayed any construction on Federal Hill by 3 years.
Just contaminate the condemnation, but go ahead.
Okay, so the development on Federal Hill will bring 360 additional users in the excess of $2.5 million in new sewer hookup fees. That in our plan was to incorporate that in 2017-18, but due to litigation, which you filed, delayed that. And it was,
Federal Hill, community say Federal
It
Hill
would-
filed, okay.
it was just November that the court process is over, and now we are negotiating to try to get the connections going. So the increase is simply to pay the bills and run the utility. We need more users and we have to sell capacity.
But how much
It's the only
more
way.
salaries are included now?
No, it's actually less than when you served on the council.
We're also dealing with the fact that the water rates themselves that we're paying are going up 5%.
5% annually from Passaic Valley Water.
And our water is bad. That was when we got the little notice that we got that our water has an issue, so. Good thing we're paying all this money for this water.
It's not the water that's costing you the money, it's the sewer.
Oh, yeah.
It's the sewer because, again, we all know the story, and if you don't, you need to learn it. Back in the late 70s, when they formed the Quantic Sewer Authority, they said to Bloomingdale, how much capacity you want? Bloomingdale said 1 million gallons a day,
we
and
sold
then
a lot of
Bloomingdale
that
went and
already.
saved everything. Northern Green, Ball Track, fought Federal Hill, stopped the horse farm, and so now we have 1 million gallons a day of capacity that we're paying debt on to the authority, and we use 400,000 gallons a day.
But haven't we sold quite a bit of that?
We sold, since I've been here, we sold 90,000 gallons a day for $1 million in 2013-ish, and that's why we've been able to maintain without a rate increase using that surplus. And now we're not out of money, but if we didn't have an increase, we'd be in trouble at the end of 2020. So, buying all that capacity and then not developing is what caused it to
Now,
happen.
you were
Excuse
originally
me?
on council, how many years ago?
No, it happened in 78, 79.
None of us were here then, okay.
None of us were here. No. And that's what we're paying. So the answer is add more users or sell the excess capacity. It's a high-end commodity. If we have enough capacity to build out Federal Hill, and then if we see development, we're the only game in town with Kinnelon that has excess. So if we see development on 23, like the Walmart kind of scenarios, it could be a windfall for the borough someday, but there's nothing on the horizon. And again, out of 4,500 entities in town, homes, businesses, et cetera, there's only 2,200 users on the system. So 2,200 users share the cost of 3 employees, their vehicles, the maintenance, the infrastructure. Every road we dig, we need new sewer and water
There's also $1
lines.
million taken out to pay off the budget before I got on the council, when you were on the council last time.
Olenschlager, when he was mayor, stopped. Prior to Olenschlager, they used to take 600 grand out of the utility
No, it
to
stopped when I was
offset.
on the council, when I was with.
I'm not going to debate you,
Well, I'm not
respectfully
either, but
disagree.
Facts are facts.
But no longer is there any revenue taken from the utility to offset general funds. If it was 51%, you would be able to do that. You can't do that.
I know.
We
They
don't
did
do
it
that.
anyway. Also, now, the other thing is my sidewalk.
Yes.
When is that going to be fixed?
Well, I know
So
with the
my-
curb, you mean?
No, the sidewalk
Frankie
also.
was there,
Mhm.
right? Met you there, and I know he said he's waiting on the contractor to come out and make the repair. So I don't have a date for you. But it'll be done.
That's what you told me last year at my.
It'll be
curb,
done.
And I'm still waiting.
It'll be done. Is everything
This year,
okay?
next year, the year after?
You, Linda, both your cracked sidewalk and your raised concrete sidewalk will be repaired.
When?
I will, before Halloween,
Okay, we'll see.
okay?
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Mayor, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
With respect to the redevelopment study, the way the law is, you have to include the considerations of condemnation. It doesn't mean, like you said, there is condemnation. It doesn't mean that even if this designation is adopted, that it means any property is going to be taken, let alone 100. It doesn't work that way, like you said. It usually comes in the extreme circumstance when there's one property who doesn't want to cooperate with the rest of the properties in a project. So that's just, the law requires that if you consider an area in need of redevelopment, you now have to upfront talk about the idea that there could be the condemnation option. It's not like the governing body just wanted to do it that way. That's the way the law requires you to go through this process.
And again, it's the early stages.
Yeah.
It'll probably be back to the governing body, second meeting of September, thereabouts. Anyone else wishing to speak, agenda, non-agenda? Seeing no one, motion to close public comment?
Second?
All in favor? Thank you. Any reports? Bree, do you have anything for us?
I don't have anything.
Fred, anything for us?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Any governing body member?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Environmental Commission is going to be hosting its yearly river cleanup, the Quantic River cleanup, with some special guests there. Glenwild Gardens is going to be there, Flotilla from the Coast Guard, and a couple of other special guests that should be pretty interesting for the town.
And that's on August 17th?
Yeah, August 17th,
10 a.m.
o'clock.
And the
Yes.
gathering will be Sloan Park. Even with the construction, we'll be able to station out front of there.
Also asked, we're asking the church for permission to use.
That's fine.
their lawn area.
That's fine. You run all the emails with DPW for setup, so yeah.
Yes.
It's always a great day, so thank you. Anyone else have anything?
Yes, Mayor. The Board of Health. The Board of Health has invited Rhonda Brand to their meeting to possibly initiate a dementia program in Bloomingdale. They're going to be following up in September with her and with all the information that they had been given. They're also revisiting some different initiatives for the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, possibly a collaboration with Marco from Infinity Fitness. And also they're talking about doing some collaboration with City Green in Clifton, which is who we do
Our garden.
the garden. That is it.
And on the dementia, the point of that is Rhonda Brand's a Bloomingdale resident who works for the dementia organization. And
Yes.
it's to designate the borough as a dementia-friendly community and just to, almost like the stigma-free, just to get the message out, as much education as we can on the subject of dementia as we do with mental illness for stigma.
Yes, but it's not as easy.
No, there's a lot more
from-
steps involved, but yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, well, we'll look at it.
So the Board of Health said that they're going to have her come back, discuss it more, but there's a lot of education involved, more so than I would have imagined. It's not as much, it's more detailed than stigma-free. This is about educating all business owners, police, fire,
Well, I
EMS.
think we received a $20,000 grant from Chilton, and we trained all our police officers for stigma, so we can possibly get funding that way. But this is just the beginning.
It's the beginning,
Very
yeah.
good. Anyone else? Just a couple things. Red Twig Trail project starts this week, I believe Thursday. They'll work on the drainage issues first, but then there's drainage, curbing, sidewalks, and road paving. General road paving throughout town should begin in the next few weeks. DeLazier basketball court, slow but surely. It's being graded today, should be paved very shortly, and that project should be closed. It's been a very long and difficult project. Bogue Pond basketball court, we met today with the engineer for final design, and that should be going out for work to begin in the next few weeks. Ballston Street, we received the DOT grant for Ballston Street to redo full sewer water lines because they're ancient and break all the time, and the sewer line actually drops at one point, and it's just a mess. So it's a full sewer water line replacement, curbing and sidewalk in front of the grandstand, and curbing on the whole street and paving, and that project is looking to go out to bid, be awarded sometime in August, probably do drainage work in the fall, let it settle and pave in the spring for Boston Street. Tony talked about river cleanup, so that's all I have at this time. Moving along, consent agenda, I need a motion for resolution 2019 7.1 through 7.13. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Just quickly, I want to thank Judge Wubenhorst, who served as our judge for, I believe, 13 years in the Borough of Bloomingdale, who is retiring from Bloomingdale. He received a promotion in the Morris County Court system, and I'm honored to appoint our public defender for many years, Dana D'Angelo, as our new judge, and a Bloomingdale resident, David Amadio, as our new public defender. So those items are on the consent, and possibly have them in for September for a little formal recognition. Also, on here, being that he's here this evening, we are appointing a new member to our Economic Development Commission, which is a vibrant new commission that's really doing a lot of good for our businesses. And Steve, I'm going to butcher your name for sure. I should know it by now. But Steve is willing to step up. So after we make this motion, I'd ask you to, let me give you the oath now, have you sign the oath, and you'll be good to go. And now, loud and clear, pronounce your last name for me. Thomas Kovic. It's so easy. Thank you, Steve. So, any further discussion?
Mayor, I would
Yeah.
just give kudos, to the borough clerk. A lot of towns, they're months behind in getting all their minutes complete for meetings, including executive session minutes. And with this motion, you're right up to date, and not every town can say that. And so I think it's always important to note that.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Yep, I do remember the days of not so quite up to date. Thank you. And can I have a roll call, please?
Costa,
Yes.
Tomato,
Yes.
Delariva,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Sondemire.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephen, I'd ask you to come up in front of the dais. Thank you very much for stepping up. Yes, great committee. So, I'd ask you to raise your right hand and simply repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of Economic Development Commissioner according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. Thank you.
I will point out, he actually got a head start on Saturday.
Oh, wonderful.
I couldn't miss it.
And John, may I say, he's been a wonderful addition to the garden committee. Thank you.
My pleasure. So he's going to get you and your wife on the same committee, so you have a team.
No, it's supposed to keep us.
Oh, is it? Yeah, thank you. Stepping up. See you really soon. Thank you. Looking forward to working with you. Matter of fact, tying into the subject of economic development, Resolution 7.9, we authorize a contract we're going to enter into with New Jersey Future. It's a nonprofit organization that is going to assist us in obtaining a $50,000 grant from the Highlands Council to study economic development downtown. So that'll be a 2020 project, but we're getting the funding going in the application this year. So thank you. Pending items. Second and final reading and public hearing on ordinance 22, 2019, amending salary ordinance for rec staff and assistant to the CFO. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, and copies were made available to the public so that a motion may be made that it be read by title.
And who makes that motion? All in favor?
Aye. An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending Ordinance 8-2019, an ordinance establishing a minimum and maximum range of salary and compensation for categories and titles of officers, non-contractual employees, and contractual employees of the Borough of Bloomingdale to include the recreation staffing positions and assistant to the CFO.
Thank you. And before I open the public hearing, this is not new for anyone. This is not a raise. We have a salary ordinance that gives ranges of every position in town, and rec staff was missing, and the assistant, rec staff, we had to go to the new minimum wage, and the assistant to the CFO didn't exist previously. It wasn't added last year, so we had to add that to the salary ordinance. Can I have a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to 22-2019?
Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam. What is the assistant CFO salary?
Off the top of my head, 50, I think 50,000, 51? Again, it's a guess, so. I can email you tomorrow, the exact number, yeah. I think it's 51 and change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to close?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who moves to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Hudson, and I'm sorry, second, Sotomayor?
Sotomayor.
And any discussion? Roll call, please.
D'Amato?
Yes.
Delariva?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Sotomayor?
Yes?
Costa?
Yes to the rec staff. I abstain to the assistant to the CFO.
Yeah. One? Yeah, okay. Just to make a note that way. Thank you. And then item B, second final reading, public hearing on ordinance 23, 2019, affordable housing income and asset income limits. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, and copies were made available to the public so that a motion may be made that it be read by title.
And who makes that motion, please?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 12, Sections 2.7, 2.12, and 2.13 of the borough's affordable housing ordinances to establish regional income and asset limits and maximum rental and sales prices for all affordable units in the borough.
And again, before I open to public, just what this is. We utilize a company called Community Grants and Planning to administer all of our affordable housing, monitoring them. More importantly, we had a trust fund established when Avalon Bay was built, where $150,000 was put in a trust fund because we allowed them to build, I think, 7 less units than proposed, and they put that money in the trust fund, and we then used that money for grants for our own residents who qualify for roofs and boilers and siding and sidewalks, whatever the case may be. And it's free money if the resident stays in the house for 10 years. If they sell, they have to redeem the mortgage. It's actually a placed mortgage on their unit. And we get affordable housing counts towards those units that we administer. And we have administered well over $130,000 of grants to approximately 8 or 9 households within town, people who qualify. And we have replenished that fund, fortunately, with D4 properties, in lieu of them building the code required 1.6 units, 20% set aside. They're putting $40,000 in the trust fund, which I can continue giving our residents some money. This ordinance is increasing the income requirements at the recommendation of the Community Grants and Planning organization we use to administer. So it'll just make it open for more people who may need assistance, and that's what this is. So with that said, a motion to open public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak to 23, 2019, please do so. Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who moves to adopt?
So moved.
Whoever you want. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Delripa?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
Tomato?
Yes.
Thank you. New business. Item A is just a discussion item, just to notify the governing body. We were awarded $99,000 for the restoration and rebuilding of the Walter T. Bergen tennis courts. That was our 2019 Passaic County Open Space Grant, the same grant that is paying for DeLazier basketball court, paid for Bogue basketball court, paid for the walking track at Walter T., paid for the restrooms at Walter T., and on and on and on. So we have been awarded $99,000, which will be a spring, late spring, early summer 2020 project, because those tennis courts need to be new, and very excited about that. Again, it'll be part of our capital program, and the county is very good to us, and we get success each and every year, so I'm very pleased with that. Item B, I need a motion for resolution 2019-7.14, payment of the bills. Who makes that motion? Second, D'Amato, and do I have discussion? Roll call, please.
Hudson?
Yes.
Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
Tomato?
Yes, with the exception of item 01463, items 1 through 10.
Delripa?
Yes.
Thank you. Item C, I need a motion for resolution 2019-7.15, acknowledging receipt and review of the fiscal year 2018 audit report. All the governing body members receive this beautifully bound, interesting read of our audit, and everyone reads it, signs off on it, and the resolution is certifying that. Who makes that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? And roll call, please.
Sandemeyer?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
Tomato?
Yes.
Delripa?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Thank you. I need a motion for late public comment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to speak? Sure, why not?
Should just sit up here.
I know, you should just stay right there.
Deputy 6 Van Dam.
Excuse me.
What was the comments for the report, order report? Order comments.
Again, I can email them to you. Very, very basics, the typical. They've probably been there when you were there. Like, senior center coordinator, not always being timely with deposits, and, little stuff like that. Nothing crazy. Some old unfunded grants we need to cancel. They're not, they're on the books, but there's no money to fund the grants, before all of our time. But maybe half a dozen things like that. But again, the audit's online.
The audit's online. I advertise the comments, but they can be emailed.
Yeah. So we will email you tomorrow the salary and the audit comments. Okay. You have Linda's email, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's going on with Stone Park? When is that going to be done?
Hopefully before your sidewalks. Again, we're always at the mercy of contractors, but it shut down for the winter because the remaining work was landscape and concrete. So they resumed, and kind of slowly, mainly because the bridge wasn't ready yet. So they did all the landscaping, and the bridge finally, week and a half, 10 days ago, was completed. I honestly don't know where it is. It's not here. It's in storage somewhere. And so they're doing the abutments now. So hopefully the bridge will be placed by the end of the week, early next week.
Within the next week, as long as the weather stays.
Then there's fencing, pavers in the front, cleanup, topsoil seed, sprinkler system install. So would you help me with a guess of completion?
I would say
A month?
I would say probably middle September, late September.
Yeah.
By the time it's all done and the water, everything.
It's soup to
everything
nuts.
you just talked about, soup to nuts, because
Yeah.
you got the sidewalk in the front that's got to be done.
And new fencing.
Fencing, the electric,
The electric, right, the lighting.
yeah, the stuff
So-
has to be, the finished work has to be done.
Yeah.
Once
So-
the bridge is done, the contract of digging is done, that's finished.
Right. A lot of it's
So they started putting down the
cosmetic work.
abutments today.
Yeah. It's going to be beautiful when we're done. And it works because all that rain we've had, it really holds the water. Water's not near the banks of Main Street, not Van Dam.
Not the end.
It's a whole separate story.
That's
Yeah, so hopefully September. I mean, I asked John because he's really involved for us on that. And
Yeah, I
keep
took
in-
a ride down last
keep
night
in
and
touch.
behind the car wash. All the heavy rain was here.
Yeah.
Just amazing what it's doing.
Yeah. That storm would have topped the car
Main
wash.
Street at all. It just stays to that.
And that was the whole goal, the purpose of it. So while we're doing that, we beautified it, so. So hopefully September, we can have a ribbon cutting.
And the basketball courts,
I said it earlier, it was graded today, hopefully paving by the end of the week. And then fencing.
Fencing, the lights gotta be
The lights
installed.
gotta go up,
I think
so-
the electrician's gonna be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I just got an email from the engineer because I was asking the same question. Give me
I
a
just
time
read
frame.
what Tom sent, that's what-
What's up?
I just read Tom sent.
Yeah, he just sent it to us. A month, 3 weeks, I'm hoping. Again, the mercy of contractors. That one, rather than, we had 100,000 from the county, and if we had done a bid spec for all we're doing there, we've done a lot of drainage, that whole trench behind the announcement booth, fencing, lighting, it would have been in excess of $250,000. So we did it through co-op. So we actually acted as the GC. So through the state co-op, state contract, fencing and contract co-op on Fitzpatrick paving. So it just, everything took a little longer, particularly on the mercy of the paver. So, but saved us a ton of money. So, thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, sure. It's great. Usually no one comes. I'm glad people are here. It's good.
It's a full house tonight.
Except Drew.
Anyway, I just have a quick question again. Bob Gorin, Charles Street. We have a couple of zombie houses that are nearby, and I just wanted to know, like, when you're up there doing your tour, just take a look around, and is there a policy or an ordinance on zombie houses?
Sure. You mean, are they vacant?
They certainly look vacant.
Yeah, I mean, if they're, yeah.
I mean, there's no for sale signs, there's no,
Okay.
but
I
the
just-
grass gets high
Going
and.
on Charles and Lakeside, you talking about that one?
Charles.
Yeah, that's
yes.
not a foreclosure. That guy died, family member owns it. We're working with the lawyer on trying to get that one
Yeah.
sold and cleaned up. But we have a new property maintenance officer, Mark Redfield, who is a retired
Got his letter.
30, yes. So you already have his number. 30-year retired property maintenance officer for Jersey City. And he's gangbusters. He's doing a great job. And prior to Mark, we've had this ordinance. It's just, again, it's a part-time job. He's paid $15,000 a year. I mean, he's really doing an outstanding job. We just need to know about when someone sees it. So we'll go tomorrow. If it's the one on Lakeside, that one we know about. That we're already working on.
And then there's one, I believe, on Roy. It has a sign on the door. If there's any questions about the house, to call this
Okay,
number.
so how it works is, we have a few things on the books. We have a vacant built, pardon?
I don't think that's Roy.
Oh,
Elm,
Elm Street, sorry.
Keegan,
he just died.
he just be passed away.
Right, so
Oh.
mortgage is probably foreclosed on that,
Taken over by a management company for.
because it's
That's
foreclosure.
why the sign is.
Whenever there's a foreclosure, we get notice. Obviously, tax office gets notice. And immediately, property maintenance gets a copy of that, goes right to the company. The mortgage companies are not the one we got to deal with. They all outsource to a management company. So we've done a much better job over the past year in communicating to these management companies. Although they change, monthly. It's just very frustrating. I've gotten to the point where those that are most difficult, I'll actually have DPW go and cut the grass and do a quickie,
Right.
and then put a lien on the property, for a few bucks. Try not to do that, but if it's that much of an eyesore for residents. So we passed a vacant building ordinance a number of years ago. And anyone who has a vacant building, unless you're actively selling it or have an open permit doing renovation, pays a substantial fee that grows. I think by the third year, it's up to $5,000. So it's kind of an initiative or motivation for these mortgage companies to try to move these properties. Problem is, when they're so far underwater, they don't move them. If someone owed, $290 and it's only worth $280, those are the ones they don't flip
Right.
real quick. The ones that they only owed $90 and it's worth $250, those they sell like that. So we issue notices, summonses, and we've been getting a good response in grass cutting and general maintenance and things like that. So I'm not sure if these are on the list. I know the Lakeside is, and that's not a foreclosure, that's dealing with an estate of.
Okay.
But the other one was a former DPW worker who passed away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one I know is in foreclosure. So I'll just make sure property maintenance has
But I
contact
don't know
with
if
the
there's, I
company.
don't know if there's one next to it or.
I'll look while we're there tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, just was curious,
Yeah, but if you ever see something, I mean, I'm out a lot. I'm a list writer, and all my staff can tell you how annoying I'm in with emails because I see everything and I email obnoxiously. So what I ask residents, anyone, he's laughing because he gets the brunt of
No, I'm
it.
not shy. I've called you before about it.
No, but he emailed me, say, hey, John, go look at 35 Main Street, and then I'll just put it on my radar because I don't see everything. I see a lot, but not everything. So
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.
Anyone else? Seeing no motion.
Mayor, I'd just like to publicly thank everyone, Bloomingdale, surrounding towns, everybody was involved with the tremendous outpouring of love shown to my father and family, and truly thankful from the bottom of our hearts.
Wonderful,
Thanks.
yeah. Thank you. It's a great man. Great family. Thank you, Mike. With that, a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Governing body schedule, next meeting, August 20th, only once in August. Workshop meeting, September 3rd. River cleanup, August 17th, 10 a.m., Sloan Park. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do you want to spend a minute?